She's a certified yapper, but looks good doing it.
Gabby, I love you.
It must suck being that hot.
What up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi. If you're not new here and you're not yet subscribed, you subscribe right now. We're on the road to 5K. We're almost there. Oh my God. So today we're going to be reacting to 10 shocking acts of violence in AEW. Oof. You know, I have seen maybe some clips of some of these before on social media, and I just gotta ask, do these things add to the story, or is AEW just trying to trying to stand out? Some things I feel like you can incorporate into the story, but I don't know, some of this stuff be looking unnecessary. So let's just see. Put it down in the comments what y'all think.
Number 10, Swerve gets daddy ass. That was not the best way to say that. I mean, go and say that to somebody today who does not watch pro wrestling and they will look at you like this, but it does tie in to the rise of Swerve Strickland. Because when he did join AEW in 2022 and started a tag team with Keith Lee, I don't think anybody expected him to get to where he did do, and more fool us. You look at Swerve now, he was always destined for greatness. Of course, the story between him and Keith was, can they coexist? Because pro wrestling loves that one. And before long, given we did have two teams, they came up against the Acclaimed and daddy ass. As Max Camp for Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn did enjoy scissoring though, Strickland decided, I wonder if I could kidnap Billy Gunn and, torture him just a little bit. And because the police never get involved in pro wrestling, that's exactly what he did. But at one point, we even insinuated that Strickland had used pliers to rip off Billy's fingers. I think you should do that. Now, we can't have gone through with this because, of course, Bill did still have his hand the next week, but you were meant to left thinking, Swerve Strickland is totally screwed up. So it was almost the thought of violence rather than violence itself, which sometimes can actually be more effective. But don't worry, we are going to talk about Swerve later. He's definitely done visual violence. But still, it was a nice place to start. Number 9, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa changed the game. Women in a hardcore match. I mean, however will we continue to exist as a society? Because this is the internet, I'm being sarcastic. Really though, we all need to grow up because what's good enough for men is obviously good enough for women. And if you need proof, go and watch this. This was a proper lights out unsanctioned match back on Dynamite in 2021. And look, yes, sure, in Western professional wrestling, females doing this did cause some mixed reactions, because some individuals had never seen anything like this before. They're also the first women to main event on Wednesday night, and it gave us so many iconic moments. I mean, look at this image. If you can look at that and not feel a little bit oogly boogly in your tum-tum, you're a stronger human than I. So as you can tell, it was filled with blood, but also it was so violent. But listen, man, it was a proper feud, and if you wanted to sit down and go, wow, Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker really hate each other, Exhibit A. Both really deserve praise for what they did put themselves through here, because they did move the conversation forward. I mean, ever since this moment, AEW has opened the door, and that's what we should always do. And if it's not for you, just don't watch it. But should they have the opportunity, you bet your ass. Number 8, Cody.
Barbed wire? Thumbtacks? What do we gain out of this? What do we gain? I know hardcore match, but y'all, come on. Barbed wire is going a little too far for me. Okay, thumbtacks has been used in wrestling. I'm sure barbed wire has too, but just barbed wire in general, it's just cringy.
Codys 10 whips. We did it again. The violence in wrestling isn't just about the act of violence. Sometimes it can be about the emotion too. Cody Rhodes and MJF really understood this as well, so after MJF had cost Cody Rhodes the AEW World title, which meant he could never challenge for it again, Cody decided, I am going to get my revenge on you, Max. And if he wanted to do that, he'd have to go through the trials of MJF. And one of these got so out of control, because Maxwell said, all right, fine, I get to whip you 10 times with a weight belt. Now, most fans are like, well, I'm sure Rhodes isn't just going to get laid there. As he does get hit, AEW will find a way out of it. But nope, we got to the episode of Dynamite, and Cody quite literally got whooped. The true highlight, of course, though, is that even though Maxwell Jacob Friedman got more and more aggressive with these, so did Cody, or at least he got more emotional. Because 2 years later, he found himself in a feud with Maxwell, so then he had to take these hits, but he stood there like a superhero, as if to say, I'm really big, and you can't get to my man meat.
I don't like how that sounds. I don't like how that looks.
Number 7, Swerve is constantly insane. So as we saw it out, Swerve Strickland is sort of brilliant when it comes to pro wrestling, because he has done all these terrible things, and we still cheer him. Even when some of these matches in questions didn't connect with the fans, he would still find a way to drag them in a little bit, much like he did at Blood and Guts 2024. Because the Elite Takeover AEW story hadn't really got to the point that we were hoping for. But when Swerve Strickland entered that cage and realized he was surrounded by his enemies, they all decided, hey, we've got a staple gun here, and we are going to staple you so bad that you're probably going to bleed. And do you know what Swerve did? He just stood there and took it. So you went from being like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting, to, oh my gosh, he's a superhero, especially because he got revenge. He got this would-be weapon, and he attacked him back. So there's no two ways about it when we talk about that one. Taking a staple gun and putting the staple into someone's skin so the red stuff comes out, well, that's totally flubbed up. But it certainly got a reaction out of me. Number 6, Darby Allen really likes Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance music. So I'm being facetious. I'm talking about the glass break. Because at Revolution, when Sting decided he was going to retire, of course he teamed with his best friend Darby Allen to take on the Young Buck. Darby must have woken up that morning and said, you know what? I've got to do right by my fake dad. So after laying Nick Jackson on a plane of class, Allen climbed the tallest ladder you'd ever seen, and he dove onto his would-be opponent, who moved, and Darby Allen went smashing through this thing. It's one of the most disgusting things you're ever going to see. As always, people like Darby Allen can't keep doing this, yet somehow he can. And when the camera zoomed in on his back, I tell you, my friends, he was bleeding in around about 4.2 milliseconds. The crowd went absolutely nuts because of course they did, and in a slight bit of irony, it certainly looked like All Elite Wrestling had used real glass. So yeah, it was...
And they're gonna use real glass. Okay, this is like, I guess, they gotta set themselves apart from the other products. But, ugh.
Certainly a sight, and only in wrestling, I suppose. But I think we could leave it until we do it again just a little bit. Number 5, MJF hangs CM Punk. So really, you could take the entire CM Punk and MJF feud and stick it in here. The old thing was pretty damn violent. And whatever you think about Punk's run in AEW too, you cannot throw bones at this. Because, man, when you put these two together, dare I said, they created magic. Now, it started with a bunch of masterful promos that allowed you to buy in, and the secret sauce that after a while, you were listening to Max, you started going, I feel a bit sorry for this guy, and do you know who else fell into that trap? CM Punk. This was just days before their dog collar match, which was also very violent, and as soon as Punk had let his guard down, MJF attacked with the Pinnacle to the point they basically wrapped a piece of rope around CM Punk's neck, and yep, they hanged him. Images on the screen now. Nobody is doing this, but it was still horrible. He was totally bloody when they were doing this too, but it just reminded you sometimes wrestling can be unhinged, and it hits a certain amount of quality in your tum-tum, and for whatever reason, it makes you want to tune in again. It also allowed MJF to feel super duper dangerous, which he needed going into this pay-per-view. So yes, this may not be for you, but in terms of ticking the boxes, it did a damn good job. Number 4, Brody Lee decimates the Rhodes family. So I put this here deliberately because sometimes violence doesn't mean blood, and blood doesn't mean violence. But August 22nd, 2020 was a hard time for all of us and pro wrestling because we were knee-deep in the global pandemic. So like other promotions that were running, Tony Khan looked across his roster and decided, we gotta do something big. This was when Brody Lee was brought in, and yes, Cody Rhodes was the TNT champion, and he was having a pretty good run with that belt, when Brody was like, I don't care, I'm going to crush you, and I'm going to take it. And my gosh, that's exactly what he did. I mean, he literally threw Cody around before he defeated him like he was nobody, and not only that, but now he had the title. And the more dark part actually came after this, because Lee started to cut a promo, and as Cody Rhodes was getting stretched out there, he told his minions, no, I don't like that, you should push him off the thing. Damn it, they did. Lee Johnson also took out Arn Anderson, and Dustin Rhodes was even dragged out to the back. This felt a little bit like a kidnapping. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it was super uncomfortable to watch. Brady even got choked out too, so we just took this Brody Lee character, and my word, did we give it some edge. Not Adam Copeland, he'd be there in a couple of years. Here's another reason, though, why Brody Lee's tragic so early on was such a loss. Obviously, that's way more important than anything we ever do in wrestling, but we were just getting started with this persona. I really think it could have changed the game. Number 3, Mariah May destroys her teacher. So as soon as Mariah May arrived in AEW in November 2023 and started cozying up to Toni Storm, who was not interested, you just knew exactly where this was going to go. So it's just a classic tale with the constant intrigue of, well, is she going to do it now or is she going to do it today? And actually, Mariah waited until she won that Owen Hart Cup. My gosh, she didn't wait another second. So even though you could have anticipated this, I don't think anybody expected AEW to go this far, because as soon as she grabbed the Owen Hart Cup, she turned around and she bludgeoned Toni Storm to the point the Timeless One was wailing. That's right, she was screaming as if she was gonna die. May even made it poetic because she got the shoe that Toni talked about all the time, and she whacked her right in the hole where the blood was coming from. still makes me feel a bit queasy. The belt shot she gave her too were just so uncomfortable, and you're a bit like, can somebody come out here to stop this? Because it just got more and more insane. It really will go down as one of the best moments in AEW history though, because not only did you get the heel turn, but it just had emotion pouring out the wham. So once again, yeah, without the blood and without the violence, I don't think you achieve that. That's why sometimes you just gotta do it. Number 2, John Moxley suffocates Bryan Danielson. So this was controversial. Can't argue that. I mean, John Moxley literally woke up one day and went, yep, I'm going to murder my best friend. Now, it was actually based on an old school angle, but let's just be honest here. New fans aren't going to remember that. It's one of the reasons why you can pull from old wrestling. It feels like it's new again. It was also post All Out 2024 when Bryan Danielson had just retained his AEW World title versus Jack Perry, when he just had to go through hell. Because when Blackpool Combat member Claudio Castagnoli smacked him right in the balls, he couldn't believe it. Then that got even worse, because Moxley snuck up from behind him and he had a plastic bag and he choked him. Honestly, my life flashed before my eyes, and I wasn't even involved. What really made this hit home, though, is that Wheeler Yuta, another member of the Blackpool Combat Club, hadn't been clued up about this, so he too is in the corner, just crying his eyes out. So that just added to how horrendous this was. It was like he was watching his best friend die. So I get why people thought this was excessive, and I totally understand if it's not for you, but it goes to show AEW is happy to cross that line, and as many people that are like, oh man, yeah, this cool wrestling is the best, more are gonna be like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it. But I guess you vote with your remotes, but AEW did it, and it was flipping violent. Number 1, Adam Page drinks blood. I mean, where else could we go? It still stuns me that's a sentence. And look, you can see it right now. Now it all ties into the death feud between Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, hence why they keep coming up in this list. And because they had to keep finding ways to outdo each other, well, yeah, they quite literally drunk each other's blood. This was Full Gear 2023, and what was totally nuts is that at this point the Cowboy was meant to be the good guy, but because he just hated Swerve to such a degree, as soon as he saw the red stuff pouring from his head, he basically leant down, shook him a bit, and you saw the blood dripping into the back of his throat. Now, I'll be honest with you, my friends, I never want to see this again, but if you wanted a visceral reaction, well, this went and did it. This also came after the fact they'd stapled each other, so it was properly harrowing, and the fact that Adam Page went and spat it everywhere like he was Triple H at WrestleMania. As of me talking to you too, this happened a long ass time ago, but have I accepted and processed it? No. No, I haven't. I do want to give props to AEW, though, for always backing up their stipulations, because from time and loyalty alone, now you know. If they tell you it's...
Okay, look, I'm done. Okay, look. Well, the video over anyway. See, that was a horrible reaction I just had, and that means the energy of this is bad. I don't like the energy. I don't like this. No. Some of this stuff is unnecessary, but let me know in the comments what you think. I'm done. I can't.